Fabulous New York Congresswoman, Claudia Tenney, and we have the fabulous North Dakota Senator, Kevin Kramer, both fabulous today. I'm in such a good mood, really good.
Generous.
All right, Claudia, kick us off. You're up there by Canada, actually, so you know a thing or two about all this. You're also on the Ways and Means Committee, which has something to do with trade and so forth and so on. Your first thoughts and impressions about this tariff story?
Well, first of all, I agree with you, Larry. It is a national security issue. I do think that we need to change the behavior. We need to bring our supply chains back, and I think tariffs are going to help in that. And I think the issue with the tariffs is that we have to distinguish between when you're tariffing a commodity and something like automobiles, because I think it makes a big difference. When you look at, for example, in upstate New York, we have a lot of copper fabricators, and the United States relies on Canada and other countries for 42% or more of our copper supplies because we don't have the permitting or the ability to produce the copper we need for our own supply. So I think that a universal tariff would be more fair to the fabricators, for example, in my region, instead of a targeted just with Canada, because we do have good relationships. But I think I understand the overall goal, but I think there is a way to make them effective without actually causing massive carnage and loss of jobs and the ability to actually put out like essential, commodities like copper and the uses they have in the military and all kinds of resources that we have, medical supply, everything. So I think there's a lot to talk about. I'd be curious to see what the senator has to say since he's from the North as well.
By the way, I'm always curious to see what the senator has to say. I just want to say that I've always favored the baseline tariff. I like the baseline tariff. You can raise a 10% baseline tariff would raise about $500 billion. We could use that $500 billion to cut taxes on American businesses and individuals, which is a nice swap. Anyway, let's all hear what Senator Kevin Kramer has to say about this.
Well, first of all, Larry, in your riff, you laid a good foundation, and certainly Representative Tenney has done a great job from her perspective. And I agree. I agree with both of you. I would say I think the tariffs on Canada will be short-lived. And the reason I say that is they didn't even wait for the final tally to come in November before they started making adjustments to meet the demands that President Trump has put on them. And they've come a long way, particularly in the area of fentanyl and the precursors and the regulations, those types of things. With regard to oil, Larry, you did a good job laying that out, but just give you some numbers. Canada only produces about 5 million barrels of oil per day. We buy 4 million of them. So we are literally 80% of their market. I don't know if oil will be carved out. I hope it is, for all the reasons you stated. Oil is tied directly to inflation, obviously, but so I hope there's a carve out there. But I spend a lot of time talking to Ambassador Hillman, Foreign Minister Jolie, several of the premiers, and there are many pro-Trump premiers, conservative premiers throughout Canada who are struggling with this whole thing. So to Claudia's point about the relationship, we do need to keep this a strong relationship. That's why I think we'll come to a resolution quickly with Canada. Mexico, very different.
Very different story. And by the way, I mean, I think Mr. Trump would say that we're going to pick up our own energy production. So whatever short-term dislocations, they're just going to be short-term dislocations. Claudia Tenney, let me ask you this. The China problem. You know, China, whatever goes wrong, China's got a piece of it. I mean, that's been the story now for many, many years. And Mr. Trump is clearly making one of the first of many China riposts. Now, China is sneaking into Mexico, right? They provide the raw materials for fentanyl and other drugs, which then get manufactured in Mexico, and I guess the cartels ship them across the border into the United States. China's investing heavily in Mexico. They're producing cheap steel, cheap cars, trying to sneak them over the border to avoid all the domestic content rules of USMCA. Something's got to be done. I mean, Ms. Trump put 10% tariff on China. I don't know that's the last that we'll see. But my point is, here's China inside Mexico. And I don't see the Mexicans, having the Chinese abide by the USMCA rules, for example. And then what are they doing about the fentanyl problem coming across the southern border?
All great, Larry, because the biggest problem is China, because China uses its Belt and Road Initiative to leverage weaker countries, especially, and now Africa, South America. You see all these countries are leveraged by China. You fly into Chile and there's like Chinese jets all over the place in the airport. They are making their way in, and we need to put pressure on Mexico. Then we also have to be able, and one of the things as part of the whole Trump plan is to become more powerful economically, massive growth, tax cuts. So we are the world's powerhouse again, economically, and obviously we have to, with defense as well. But the economics is really important and really putting pressure on Mexico. That's why I think the tariffs, to the senator's point, the tariffs are really much more important on Mexico in the place where they are not complying. They're beholden to China, and they need to be, they need to be beholden to us. We need to be the world's leader. And notice something else, Larry. The tariffs that President Trump put in place on China through the Biden administration are still in place.
Right. Absolutely. They wouldn't take them off. And we probably going to have to do more. I don't want to predict, but I think so. Senator Kramer, just, step back for a minute from any of the specifics, just real quick. It just seems to me what Mr. Trump is announcing and doing is a statement of America first. That is what he's doing. Whether they're whether these I don't even want to guess about the long-term, short-term, whatever, et cetera. Right. But I think he's saying America first, whether it's the border or the drug problem or the cartels or the cheap imports and all the rest of that. He's saying, no, America first, Senator Kevin Kramer.
In fact, we haven't even talked about Canada's pathetic contribution to NATO as a charter member, speaking of national security. So to your point, Larry, this is why I never cease being amazed that the liberals are amazed that Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. Yep. I know it's profound. Not to mention, Larry, he does it so big. He talks to the media multiple times a day in some cases. Yep. He talks to the media more in a week than his predecessor did in 4 years. Yep. Nobody should be surprised by this.
I got to get out. You two are wonderful. By the way, the Democrats are completely unhinged. They are completely unhinged. And their heads are spinning 360 degrees in both directions right now. Madam Congresswoman Claudia Tenney, thank you as always. Senator Kevin Kramer, terrific stuff. We appreciate it.